Hey gang, Scott Davenport here, and welcome to InPost. Thanks for joining me today. We're going to dive straight into the topic, this classic tourist removal technique that is part field work and part processing work. If you saw in the field earlier this week, you saw some of the field footage, and one of the things I do in a busy place like Kirkjufelfoss in Iceland is take several photos as people that are visiting are moving through the scene. Popular places, well, people are going to come visit. And you can see here I've got three different shots of the falls here. They're like pretty small little falls. And you see I've got folks kind of walking through the scene. They're moving around. There's actually a person out here as well. But between these three photos, I'll be able to piece together a clean, person-free landscape. And let's take a peek at this one here. We'll just look at this large for a second. And I want to focus in on this area up here. I've got a bit of a long exposure to get some silky water going, so people are blurred. But as I arrow over to the next photo, notice that, they've moved. This mountain is available. This space where the people in the yellow and the red jackets is empty. I've got a person over here. If I go back to the previous one, they have moved, and so on through the scene. So we can take these photos, bring them into a layering package, and a very light amount of masking. People magically disappear, and then we have just the landscape. Or you can selectively keep just one person. I do that many times if I've got a crisp silhouette or someone in a brightly colored jacket, keeping them in the photo to give that sense of scale. For this one, I'm not sure if we'll end up there. But what I will do is grab one of these photos, since these were all taken right around the same time. Let me bring this into Develop. Let's zoom out here and get that. And I just want to make sure, just a quick sanity check, make sure I've got all of my tones. So I've got nothing clipped. I don't really need to go into doing a lot of different types of adjustments yet, because I'll blend them all together first and then do my adjustments. But I want to make sure I don't clip any tones. This all looks fine. I think the only thing I will do is do an initial interpretation of the raw file with the profiles, and I'll check a couple of them here to see which one I like, and I do tend to gravitate toward Adobe Landscape. So I'll do that, and I'll just quickly arrow over to the other two photos, hit the previous button so I can add that in. That's a good tip too, in case you do any cropping or so forth. I'll do my crop, and I'll do this profile thing. If I had to do adjustments, make sure I've got all those set, and then I can take the photos and bring them into a layering package. Now from here, I'll go back to the grid view. I'll grab these three photos and I'll bring them into Photo Raw. That's my layering package of choice. So plug in extras and send them over as layers into Photo Raw, and I'll see you on the other side. Over in Photo Raw, each one of the photos I sent in is on its own layer. And so as I disable and enable layers, we'll see the people move around, the water as well. And really at this stage, I guess what I'm looking for is which of the three photos do I like the water the most? And I'm kind of settling down on this one here, this bottom layer that's currently visible. I like that one the most. So the way I like to do my masking is I like to have the layer on the top having the data I want to keep. And then I will mask away pieces to reveal other things beneath it. So I'm going to drag this up to the top. So this is my top layer. Now that that's on top, let me turn back on the other layers, and we'll do a little looking around to see what areas I need to do my masking on. And so I'm watching where people are walking through here. And there's some obvious ones and some less obvious ones. Let's start with the obvious ones. Let's get the navigator open. We'll zoom in at 100%. I'm going to go over to this region here. This will let us get 1, 2, 3 groups of people there. If I turn things off and on, we see, different folks moving back and forth. So beneath my top layer, I have a space of emptiness here, and some here, and then some over there. So what we'll do is, with our top layer selected, we'll get the masking tools open. Simple masking brush, opacity of 100%, paint out. I'm using a layer mask. I'm painting on a layer, so I'm not adding an effect or anything like that. I'm just hiding pixels. And let's just start with a pretty healthy feather. So I'm using the shift bracket keys. You can also use the sliders up in the top here just to make the brush, bigger or smaller. And that's going to be fine. And then I'll just start painting, right? So what's happening is I'm hiding the pixels on the top layer and revealing what's beneath. What's beneath? Nobody. They moved. And it's great because this is a very simple, easy masking job. I'll check again for the next group. Now the next group I have a little problem with. I have a person here, but then they were replaced with another group. So I don't want to do my masking there. I see a couple of people's heads that we can take care of. Right there, a little wiggle through there. And that one's okay. And then here, I need to be a little careful with the brushing. But this person was moved just to their left, or their right, my left. And that's taken care of. So I'll have one more person I still have to check out there. Let's check the other side here. Notice any other people there. And also in the foreground, because I had someone coming and going, like right here. This is the sleeve of someone else, and then they are gone in the bottom layer. So that takes care of that part. All right, now we'll move our navigator back over here. This is where it's going to get a little challenging. So we have these two folks here, and then a group. So this is certainly not going to be anything I can mask away yet. So at this stage, I'm finished with the first two layers, right? We've used portions of this second layer to get rid of a group of folks in the middle and a couple other straggling hikers. So I will merge this layer down. And so you see here, merge layer. I'll click that. That will take the top layer, fuse it with the layer beneath it. And then I have, that combined set of pixels. Now for the rest of the work, let's see what we have here. 1, 2. Okay, so we certainly can take care of, same technique, this person right there. Great. Now here, this will get challenging. And it looks like it's going to be close, and there may be a little bit of ghosting we'll have to deal with. So let's start by being a little aggressive. We'll take care of this person here, right? That was the easy one. Before and after. If I'm careful, I'm bringing in, now that person overlaps. Okay, so we'll have to undo that masking stroke. Let's undo, 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 undo. There we go. And for this person, you know what? I'm wondering. No, I had a group of people there. I would need to do two things here. I have to go back and look in my shots to see if I have another person, or I reach for the retouch tools. And I think I'm going to use the retouch tools on this. This should not be too difficult of a job with only one person. I did a previous video, maybe a couple of weeks ago, with retouching. And one of the things I learned is that the retouching tools are looking at the actual pixels in the photo. They're not considering the masks. So I'm going to merge these layers together again. I don't need the navigator anymore. And let's zoom in one more notch. I'm doing Command or Control plus, spacebar to pan over. And I'll start with the Q key for the perfect eraser. And let's, actually, let me start with the clone instead. So I can sample a section of these ropes. So Alt or Option click. We'll take that right about there and kind of wiggle upward a little bit and maybe off to the left. That's pretty close. A little more cleanup later, but that's looking pretty good. And now I'll see about using the perfect eraser to kind of tidy that up and see if it'll rebuild some of those lines for me. That ended up being a little worse. Let's try one more time. I'll give it a little more pixels to work with. And sometimes changing the way you do your brush strokes can make a difference. A little better. I think I'll have a better shot at repairing that myself later. Now let's get a bit aggressive. We'll do this part here. And what I'm expecting is some level of retouching success and some level of artifacting, which I can clean up with the clone tool. So I'll do a clone here. And we'll take a sample in, let's take a sample in this area here and kind of start to taper off that mountain a little bit. I want to lower the opacity of my cloning so I'm not cloning in at full strength. Maybe like that. kind of there. I'm just doing a single click. I'll take another sample, and I can rebuild a little bit of that fog up in there. Okay, better. One more adjustment here, our retouch brush, just to kind of smooth things out a little bit. Get that through there. Maybe a little bit on that edge there. And it's okay if that mountain edge is a little soft, because you can see there's a lot of atmosphere going on up there. That's going to be okay to have that background be a little bit soft. Okay, and now I see some artifacting from the person's like jacket or belt or something on there that was moving through. Now keep in mind, I am zoomed in probably at 150 to 200%. So even if things look a little grainy, that's going to be okay when we move back out to 100%. This is going to end up looking really, really nice. All right, next step, we're going to go back to cloning. A little bit more work here. This is kind of morphed into from a how to get rid of tourists to how to do some little cloning and retouch work, but that's okay. Let's get our sample, Alt or Option click. We'll rebuild a little bit of that snow patch. That's cool. Q key. We'll do a little content aware retouching right along that edge there. There we go. And then the retouch brush, I think that's the shortcut key R. It is. Good. Okay. And we'll do a little retouching there. And the very last thing is to tidy up these little rope lines here. So I'll return to a clone for that. And this is a pretty tight group of 2 strands of that rope. And so we'll just kind of click it in right about there. And I'll use a very, very light retouch brush, just with a couple of stray clicks to kind of just smooth that over. And it's one of those things where if we get in there and we pixel peep, someone will notice a little bit of wiggleness. But you know, honestly, for me, I'm not going to be worried about that because I don't work with my photos that way. I don't study them at the pixel level. All right, let's zoom back out. So let's see, we've gotten all of our folks are gone. And let's take a look at 100% just to see how that looks overall. And I think that looks pretty darn nice as all these just empty green land, nice atmospheric day. And then from here, I can do my normal processing that I would do on any photo. For this one, a little bit of contrast, some color work. I don't want to bring up too much color. I want to keep that moody, gray type of feel. But this is the process. And really what makes it a key thing is taking multiple photos while you're in the field. If I had probably taken one more photo, I would have had a very simple masking job and would have been done without the retouching. So I was not patient enough to wait for that last group of folks to move around. But I hope you found this video useful. And if you did, let me know somehow. Comments below would be great. Questions about photography, you know the drill. Drop them in the comments. You want to keep it private, send me a message through my website. And until next time, my name is Scott Davenport, and happy shooting.